1991, PC gamers created their very first civilization. Sonic the Hedgehog blurred across the Master System, Genesis, and Game Gear. America got the SNES, Japan got the Mega CD, and the epic quests A Link to the Past and Final Fantasy IV began. Home gaming was on the rise, but the arcade was losing steam after running on fumes from old releases like Double Dragon and Hard Drivin'. All of that changed in March, when one fighting game revolutionized head-to-head stand-ups forever. That game was Street Fighter II. Street Fighter was a phenomenon, but to some, fighting games were still just kid stuff. While the younger crowd was sharpening their spinning lariats and sumo butt crushes, rookie video game programmer Ed Boon was getting his hands dirty on something intended for more mature audiences. He shared his ideals with designer John Tobias, artist John Vogel, and sound designer Dan Forden. In collaboration with Midway Games, and after only 10 short months, they attacked arcades with their own version of Fatal Fisticuffs in August of 1992. They kicked names around like Kumite, Dragon Attack, and Fatality. During the process, someone scribbled Combat on a dry erase board outside Boon's office, replacing C with a K to give it a hard edge. Pinball designer Steve Ritchie glanced at this creative spelling one day, and the full title came to him instantaneously. The team behind Mortal Kombat originally approached Hollywood big shot Jean-Claude Van Damme to be their cover star, but he was busy in Arizona shooting Universal Soldier. As a tribute, or pure coincidence, the silver screen tough guy in Mortal Kombat's roster shared the same initials with the muscles from Brussels. The demand for top talent came from the game's use of digitized graphics, technology first brought to the arcades with Exterminator in 1989.
Test your might.
The cast may have been missing a headliner, but these faces still became icons. Johnny Cage, Hollywood action hero. Kano, mercenary of the Black Dragon Clan. Raiden, the God of Thunder. Liu Kang, Shaolin Monk. Scorpion, Skeleton Hellspawn. Sub-Zero, Master of Ice from the Lin Kuei clan. For all its indulgence, the cast included only one female, Special Forces agent Sonya Blade.
Sonya wins.
Mortal Kombat only told a story through text screens when the arcade cabinet wasn't in use. These scrolls spoke of a place called Earthrealm, a dimension on the brink of losing a critical tournament for the 10th year in a row. Upon failing again, a wasteland known as Outworld would consume our planet. Liu Kang became this realm's chosen warrior, and with the help from Raiden, he surpassed the competition, locked arms with the Shokan half-dragon beast Goro, and defeated the soul-stealing sorcerer Shang Tsung. MK utilized a simple button layout that has been continually applied to future installments. The 5-button configuration features a high and low punch, a high and low kick, and a block. All the characters shared similar movesets. Uppercuts, leg sweeps, and rapid punches were standard fare. In this respect, the series has been criticized for its basic structure. Some claim the fighters are only distinguishable based on aesthetics and special moves. What may have saved Mortal Kombat from obscurity was the fact that the most advanced abilities involved ripping someone's heart out of their chest.
Kano wins. Fatality.
These brutal climaxes were the digital equivalent of rubbing someone's nose in it if it were a pile of entrails. No one had ever seen anything like it before on any console or in any arcade. Ed Boon's favorite fatality? Sub-Zero's spine rip. Mortal Kombat was a raucous success, leading the arcade blockbuster to invade other realms like the Amiga, Game Boy, IBM, Sega Game Gear, Sega Master System, and Sega CD. The game gave arms to Sega's side of the 16-bit console war, as the Genesis, after a code unlocked it, featured all the gruesome original content. The Super Nintendo, on the other hand, was stuck with neutered fatalities and spraying sweat instead of blood. Whether you got the gore or not, the series had landed. In 2008, Forbes magazine stated cabinets of the original MK are sold for as much as $2,500. Electronic Gaming Monthly coined it as the most controversial game of 1993. It was considered by most to be the bloodiest game on the market, until it was dethroned on November 1st by its sequel. Ed Boon said Mortal Kombat 2 was intended to look different than the original MK. He also stated it had everything we wanted to put into MK, but didn't have time for. This involved recapturing each performance frame by frame, smoothing out the animation, and patching the plot holes left by the original's multiple, contradictory endings. After Liu Kang had defeated Shang Tsung, the evil sorcerer begged his master Shao Kahn to spare his life. If Mortal Kombat were held in Outworld, then Kahn and his followers would gain an advantage. MK2 featured a host of brand new stages, some of which added all new menacing ways to finish your opponent. The contestants doubled up their bloodletting fatality options, along with the new, comically cheerful friendships and the infantizing babalities. The roster nearly doubled. The original cast all returned, though only 5 were playable. Kano and Sonya Blade had been taken captive by Outworld forces and could be seen behind Shao Kahn's throne. Boone stated that these were the least chosen characters from the first game, hence their departure. New to the fray was a Tarkatan nomad named Baraka, another Special Forces superstar Jax Briggs, another Shaolin brother Kung Lao, the formerly hidden green ghoul Reptile, the adopted daughter to Shao Kahn Katana, and her botched clone Melina. Shang Tsung also enlisted himself after being given his youth back in an effort to take the tournament. Sticking to structure, Shao Kahn served as the final boss, with his right-hand minion, Kintaro, filling in as the sub-boss. Kintaro's tiger stripes gave him a different appearance than Goro, though they were both of the Shokan race. The 5-button layout was preserved, though the overall gameplay had seen an increase in speed. Traditional moves expanded to include a roundhouse kick, one of the most powerful attacks in the game, though characters still closely resembled one another when it came to standard techniques. What separated them the most, like before, was their scandalous stamp on each victory. MK2 also received many ports. Nintendo, having learned the hard way, allowed their Super Nintendo to be soiled by the series' finest fatalities yet. Sega welcomed it back to the Genesis and Master System with open arms, and it also saw release on the Amiga, 32X, Game Gear, PC, Saturn, and the PlayStation in Japan. MK got its own soundtrack and a comic book written and illustrated by series designer John Tobias, not to be confused with a separate line the same year from Malibu Comics. Console sales made over $50 million in the first week, beating the initial earnings of major motion pictures True Lies and The Lion King. Not making a third would have been absurd. Mortal Kombat 3 was released in April of 1995. Boone and Tobias put the emphasis on speed with a run button to defuse defensive players, and chain combos to string the 5 buttons together. Careless victims had been kicked off ledges before, but uppercuts could now land targets upward to a higher level. The cast jumped to 15 with a torrent of unfamiliar fighters. Out of nowhere came Cabal, a former Black Dragon warrior, Nightwolf, a Native American shaman, Sindel, Queen of Indinia, also puppeteered by Shao Kahn, Shiva, a female Shokan warrior, Stryker, a Riot Control officer, and elusive cyber ninja Cyrax, Sector, and Smoke. Sub-Zero appeared with a large red mark over his eye. Scorpion was nowhere to be found. Shao Kahn recruited another ally, a Centaurian named Motaro, and sought to have his queen Sindel resurrected. Unfortunately, the only place to do so was Earthrealm. He actually succeeded, and the two worlds merged. Subplots and story twists ran rampant, though the core theme of the tournament remained largely intact. Fighters kept their precious fatalities, babalities, and friendships, while animalities took the delightful irrationality even further. The animation entertained, but many of the original actors had left midway due to royalty or conflict of interest disputes. The game was gross and glorious, but those old faces were missed. The series would eventually go 3D and never look back.
Finish him.
MK3 launched ports aplenty, revisiting the Genesis, SNES, PC, Game Gear, and Game Boy, and enjoyed the combat's first US appearance on the PlayStation. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 cabinets were installed the same year, reinstating Katana, Reptile, Scorpion, Classic Sub-Zero, and Melina. along with newcomer Ermac, a red ninja inspired by one of MK's original error messages. Ultimate is Ed Boon's favorite 2D Mortal Kombat. Midway's controversial competition was now a 3-act epic, and console combatants cheered when Mortal Kombat Trilogy brought MK1, 2, and 3 to the PC, Saturn, PlayStation, and Nintendo 64 in 1996. Every character from the first 3, even the non-playable bosses, was playable. MK had gone from arcade crowd pleaser to best-selling collector's edition in 5 years. Seeing each installment side by side revealed the evolutionary forward flip Mortal Kombat would have to make into another dimension. Not the kind they were used to. In the conclusion of the Mortal Kombat Retrospective, the franchise moves to 4 and more. Losing the animated actors puts the development team to the test. Rows of new contenders forge a deceptive alliance, all points clash at a plotline smashing Armageddon, and the series itself meets its match.
The Joker wins.